Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is a very beginner-friendly, easy watercolor faux stained glass with irises. So I'm going to show you the easiest technique. Anybody can do this. We are using basically one technique for the whole entire painting. And if we haven't met, I'm Viv. Welcome to Art with Viv. So let's just go ahead, get your paints, and just dive right in. Now, of course, I've already sketched this out. And I am mixing up two yellows, a lighter yellow and a darker yellow, and we're going to do this throughout the painting. Each color that we use, we're going to use yellow, purple, blue, and green. We're going to have a light version and a dark version, or either maybe a more yellow version or a more blue version, depending. So we've got two yellows here, a lighter and a darker, and we're just painting it directly onto the paper, painting those little dots that are sort of toward the center of the iris. We're going to let those dry. Once we get those down, then we are going to go to the technique. That's what we're going to call it, the technique. And I've got the two purples, a darker version and a lighter version. And all I'm doing is wetting each one of the sections that I'm going to paint. And then I'm just dropping the color in that I've chosen for that section, just dropping it in around the edges. And I'm leaving a little bit of the kind of watery part of the paper lighter. You can even take and drop just a little tiny drop of clean water, and that will push the pigment out there if you want to. And I'm skipping around to different areas, but let me just repeat that one more time so you'll know exactly what I'm doing. I am wetting the area first. So in this case, it's part of a petal for the iris. Wetting it with clean water and then going just around the edges of that shape, dropping in the color that I want it to be. And you'll notice how the center sort of stays really light. Some of it's a little bit white, but it actually has like a little bit of a lavender tint to it. So that's all we're going to do for the irises. That's all we're going to do for this whole entire painting, actually. So just watch a little bit as I go around. I am finding my sections, I'm wetting them with clean water, and I'm choosing either the light version or the dark version of the color that I have mixed, and dropping it just around the edges and letting it all flow toward the center. But I'm making sure that that center stays pale. I don't put my brush in that center. I want it to stay pale so it looks like light is shining through it. It gives it that translucent quality of stained glass. And that's what we're really after, is just the faux look of that beautiful light shining into stained glass. So that's what you want to do. Now I'm just trying to be a little logical about where I put my darks and my lights. My darker petals are more toward the center, and the other petals I'm doing with the more reddish purple. It's up to you how you want to organize your colors. Just try to do it in a logical manner. All you have to do is wet those little sections and then take the color and drop it around the very edges of those sections, letting it flow toward the middle. But if you see, it does not touch in the middle. It leaves that beautiful white highlight. So I'm going to let you watch as I finish up some of these irises, and I will be back shortly. Enjoy the music. Now we're finishing up the irises. As you can see here, I've wet that petal and I'm just going around the very edges with that reddish purple, putting a little bit of more pigment right there where I want it to be darker. And that's just how I control the light. But remember, this is supposed to look like flat stained glass, so we're not trying to get into the lights and shadows that you would see in a realistic iris. We're just wanting that flat look. We want just the edges to be darker, center to be lighter. So as you see, we are finishing up these beautiful irises. I've alternated the light and dark lilac amongst the petals. So do the same thing, then let that dry. Just let it dry. Hang it up, let it dry, blow dry it, whatever you need to do. Then I've mixed up two greens, a more yellow green and a more blue green. And I am going to do the same exact technique for all of my greens. I am going to wet that section. And this is where, you really need to have it sectioned off. Don't, try to wing it. Go ahead with your pencil. Make sure you have sections everywhere and section it off. Also, decide where you want the lighter, more yellow green as opposed to where you want the more darker bluer green. And then just paint all of those sections just like we did the irises. You'll wet the section, then you go around the very edge with the color, just touching that brush to the edge and letting that water pull that color in, that paint in, and it will usually stop right at the center and leave those beautiful white highlights, those undulating, translucent, beautiful highlights. So I'm going to let you watch. Again, it's up to you how you alternate your greens, how you put your lighter and your darker greens together. That's completely up to you. You can use different colors than what I've used here. It's almost, you cannot fail. You cannot fail with this one. This is such an easy project. So I'm going to let you watch as I finish up these greens, listen to a little bit of music, and I shall return. So we're finishing up these greens. As you see, what I just did there is I dropped a little bit of clean water right into the wet paint right in the center, because that water will push that pigment to the edge. If you get a little too much paint and it sort of meets in the middle and you don't have that white, that really light, beautiful highlight, just dip your brush in clean water, clean your brush, dip it in clean water, and just drop a tiny drop of clean water into that wet paint, and it will push it. It'll push that pigment to the edges, and you'll have your little light highlight. So now I've got my greens almost done. We're going to let them dry. Then we are going to mix up some blues for the background. Let that dry. Now we're going to work on the background. Through the magic of video, everything is dry. So what I'm doing is I have mixed up sort of a turquoise cobalty blue. It's really pale. It's a really beautiful blue. And I've also going to mix up a little bit of a darker, more green blue, sort of a greenish color blue, and that's what we're going to alternate in the sections of the background. Again, I've already have everything sectioned off with my pencil, and now I am just creating that sort of blue green to go in there. I just didn't want all of the whole background to be that same color blue, so I wanted to alternate. So I have the two blues, just like I did with the two different greens and the two different violets and the two different yellows. So we have the more lighter blue, sky blue color, and then we have a little bit deeper, more of a blue-green blue. Again, the same exact technique. I know it's getting boring, but it's the same technique, but you really come out with a really, really pretty painting at the end. It's easy. Any beginner can do this. So I can't wait. I hope that y'all jump into this and try it. I just hear me clapping. I'm clapping my little hands because I'm so excited. Sorry. So just get that background done. I'm not going to bore you over and over telling you the technique. Wet it with clean water. Put the paint around the edges. Alternate the colors in the different sections. Have the lighter blue in some, the blue-green in others, just like we did with all of the rest of it. So I am not going to do every single little square of this background. You've got the idea. I know you do. I have full faith in you that you have got this technique down. I mean, it's the whole thing. So then we finished that background. We're jumping ahead a little bit. We finished the background. Now I've mixed up two greens, a little tiny bit different than the greens that we used in the leaves of the irises. This is more of a bluer green and a more yellow green, like a brighter green. It almost matches the foliage. It's not exact, but it's pretty close. And we're just going to do the trim around the edges. And what I'm doing is alternating between the yellow green and that blue green color. And I've also varied the sizes of the little rectangles and squares that go around that trim edge, just to give it more interest, and so that I can get more color in there, more different color. So that's all we're going to do. I'm probably not going to show you this whole thing. It's the same exact technique. We're just alternating yellow green and blue green in each square. Remember to let those squares dry before. You see how I'm skipping some squares? Because you need to let those squares on each side dry before you put more color right in between them, or they'll all bleed together and you'll lose your beautiful crisp colors. So be sure to alternate. Don't do two wet squares right beside each other because they'll bleed. So you see how I'm leaving the white spaces? Do that. Now I am just going to outline it with my micron pen. I think this is a number 3. And just to save time, I'm just going to show you how to outline a little bit, and then through magic, we are just going to finish it with a little wave of the pen. Boom, there we go. There you have it. It is beautiful. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Please give it a try. It is the easiest technique ever. And as always, if you've enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and consider sharing it with someone that would enjoy it. That would mean so much to me and help me grow my channel. All right, thanks for watching. I will see you soon.